My name is Winston Woon. I'm 44 this year, 2011, and I became a staff of Chi Synergy Evergreen Health Sanjaran Berhad QEH in mid 2005. I'm the sales and admin manager. Even before I joined QEH, I have heard many people testify about the healing powers and miracles of Master Wong. I also have my own personal experiences with him. When I was young, during my teenage years, my body system used to be weak and I often get sick. Most of the time, I either had throat infection or flu. Sometimes it could infect me as often as once a month. I was scared every time when I started to develop the symptoms, because it will take at least 2 weeks or more to recover fully from it. I had a number of times when my flu developed into bronchitis, and I had to endure several weeks of suffering. Even then, during those times, when I was well, my appetite was poor. I don't eat much or enjoy my food. I ate small portions, and my mother told other people that I was eating like a cat. I think it was towards the second half of year 2001 when I came across an advertisement in the Star papers on the 4-day EQSMP by Master Wong. I was also attracted to its heading, which says, "No drugs or herb being used." That was when I came to know more about Chi Synergy and what Master Wong has been doing. Actually, after several advertisements in the newspaper, only did I respond when I managed to get a friend to accompany me to attend his preview talk at a major hotel in Petaling Jaya. From there, I decided to join the program as I knew I wasn't in the best of health. It was really amazing thereafter. After attending the 4-day program, I was so refreshed. With constant practice of what has been taught, I hardly had any sickness or flu since then. My appetite came back and I could easily eat so much more than before. I felt so much stronger and energetic now, which I believe is more than a miracle itself. I knew I was at the right place to be in good health. Probably that is also one of the reasons why I joined Chi Synergy, as I don't need to worry about having serious illness like cancer, diabetes, and other incurable diseases. There was one time when I had colic pains in the office. It was so painful that I curled myself up the whole morning, and I couldn't work properly or walk. After lunchtime, Master Wong called me into his office. The pain was there when I sat down. He asked me if I was okay. After sitting in front of him for a couple of minutes, I could slowly feel the pain going off. After finishing our conversation, the pain was totally gone. This is really amazing, a miracle in itself. I have many sharings of people who have experiences with Master Wong. I would not be able to share all of them, but some of them as follows. I remember a Malay executive by the name of Mr. Asanuddin, who worked in a local petroleum company. We were together in the same 4-day session back then. He had migraine, shoulder pain, as well as vertigo. He told me he went desperately everywhere, including his company's specialists, who gave him all sorts of pain reliever, and it didn't help him at all. All he gets is a temporary relief of his ongoing migraine then. He came after searching and found the website leading to Chi Synergy. Actually, after attending 2 days of the session, he said his migraine had has actually gone completely, with no relapse as well as the vertigo and shoulder pain. He told me he was so glad as he finally found the relief to his migraine pain, his vertigo, and his shoulder pain. As far as he knows, there is nowhere else anyone can find such a relief, he said. Miss Kase shared his miraculous encounter over the years while working as a housemaid for Master Wong. When she first started, she could not carry heavy things as she could feel that her womb had dropped. She, however, knew Master Wong could help her with her problem. One day when Master Wong came back from work in the evening, she took a glass of water to Master Wong. She let Master Wong hold the glass of water briefly and took it back from him to drink. He said after drinking the glass of water, the womb problem disappeared the same night. The next morning, she could carry heavy things without feeling any pain, and thereafter. There was another incident which Miss Kase had a close shave with death. Miss Kase became very sick, and she couldn't walk or even stand. For a few days, he was so weak and was unable to do work. She was lying in bed all the time except for drinking water and going to the toilet. That night, Master Wong was awakened by the sound of unusual howling winds. He felt very strange and went downstairs. He went outside to check. The wind was blowing, but there was no rain. Master Wong sensed something was not right, and he walked back into the house and closed the door. Without switching on the lights, he walked towards the kitchen where Miss Cassie's room was situated and stood outside. Master Wong told us that he sensed the presence of an angel of death inside Miss Cassie's room. The angel of death was about to take Miss Cassie away, as I believe her time was up. Master Wong could have went out of his body in his spirit form and told the angel of death by telepathy not to take Miss Cassie away, as she, Miss Cassie, was still serving him. After that, he walked off and went upstairs back to his room. The next morning when Miss Cassie woke up, she had actually totally recovered and was able to do work as usual. Then my colleague by the name of Cindy Long asked her if she knew anything about the night before. She said she did not hear any sound of howling winds as she was very sick, but could sense the power of Master Wong healing her at that moment, even though Master Wong did not tell Miss Cassie of the night incident at all. There is also another case which Miss Cassie shared with me on what she had witnessed with her very own eyes some time ago. There was a number of times when Master Wong was at home preparing to go and give a preview talk for the EQSMP at a major hotel. Later that same day, the clouds had gathered and the sky began to darken and it was going to rain. Just when big droplets began to fall, Master Wong will walk out from the house and stood and then look up in the sky. Then he lifted up his hand in a gesture as if opening an invisible curtain. Seconds later, the rain will stop. Then Miss Cassie noticed the dark clouds above will immediately started to part. The sun came out and the day was sunny again. Then she added that it was as if Master Wong could command the sky and the weather. This is a fourth incident of Miss Cassie. which I heard from Miss Casey, is about Master Wong's son, that is Mr. Alvin. Miss Casey was taking care and looking after Mr. Alvin, who was having cerebral palsy since birth. She told me there were a number of times that Mr. Alvin had problems and Master Wong resolved it with just his healing hands. In a particular incident when Mr. Alvin's body suddenly turned cold or blue, Miss Casey was so scared that she called Master Wong in the office for help. According to her, she believed that Mr. Alvin at that moment could have already been dead. Master Wong quickly rushed back to the house. When Master Wong arrived, he sat beside Mr. Alvin and put his right hand on Mr. Alvin's chest. In a few moments, Miss Casey noticed that his body color has changed almost immediately. The bluish color slowly fading off, and he looks very much lively and well after that. Miss Casey was so relieved and glad that she has seen miracles happening in her own eyes. She said that Master Wong has brought back Mr. Alvin from death not once but several times. One day back in year 2003, while having a group meeting and discussion at QEH office, I was sitting at the back of the room while Master Wong was speaking in front to everyone. Out of a sudden, I heard a commotion on the front row where Miss Mariana was sitting. I realized she was screaming and stamping the floor with her legs, as if in a trance. At first I wasn't sure and thought she was not feeling well or having pains over her body. Then I saw Master Wong walking towards her. He put his right finger on her back. She let off a loud yell as if in extreme pain. Moments later I can see her lying backwards. The pain then went off, she said. She looked weak and almost exhausted. Later she told us that when Master Wong put his right finger behind her, she thought he had used a sharp object to pierce her from behind. That was why she was screaming in pain. Master Wong actually put his finger at her back, at the lower side, just touching without any pressure. I realized later that Master Wong had actually driven out the evil spirit that was possessing her body at that moment. She felt the same just as the evil spirit possessing her felt the extreme sharp pain and fled. Mr. Joseph Lin is a good friend of mine and also a former colleague of mine at QEH. He shared with me his scary experience one night at home in Kota Kamuning. There was one night around 1 a.m. he was hanging his washed clothes at the wet kitchen area. He could feel a cold breeze around and where he hung his clothes. In a short moment, he could hear a lady's voice saying, "Why are you stopping us now?" The voice kept continuing and as if scolding him repeatedly. He sensed something not right as there was no one around. He was scared, immediately went in and closed the kitchen door. He went to the living hall and started praying. The voice continued and he prayed to God for help. Later at about 2:30 a.m., he went up to his room to sleep. He could still hear the voice repeating, and around 3:30 a.m., the voice subsided and he switched off his room's light. Immediately, he could see an image of a skull with a headcloth similar to the one worn by Osama bin Laden. The next morning, he went to work. While in the office, he asked Master Wong what he was doing the night before. Master Wong was puzzled as to why he suddenly asked this unusual question. Then Mr. Joseph related the whole incident. It was surprising that the timing of the haunting of the evil spirit, the lady's voice, coincided with the timing when Master Wong actually sent his spiritual weapon to destroy the evil spirit in the body of the lady in Klang, who smeared and spread rumors about him. Later, Mr. Joseph requested Master Wong for some form of protection from the evil spirits. Master Wong asked Mr. Joseph to get him a jar of water, and he, Master Wong, blessed it. While blessing, Mr. Joseph could feel a cool breeze coming out of the water from the jar like melting ice, even though the air conditioner in the room was off at the moment. He went home, took the water and sprinkled on the wet kitchen where he heard the lady's voice. The area became misty but later cleared up. Then he went up his room and sprinkled the water on where he saw the image of the skull. The same thing happened. The area became misty but later cleared up. I know of a EQSMP student by the name of Mr. Peter Chow, who had a big swelling on his neck, which I thought was suffering from goiter. He was sharing with us one day at a weekly meeting that during one night he had a dream. In his dream, he saw Master Wong and said he was wearing a robe like an ancient Chinese emperor. There was a goblin next to Master Wong. It has large muscular hands with big fangs. Then Master Wong with his right hand was holding its head. Blood was seen flowing out from the goblin. The goblin began to shrink smaller and smaller and finally become dust. The next morning when Mr. Peter woke up, he found the large swelling on his neck gone. I have also seen for myself that the big swelling on Mr. Peter's neck was real and was there, but after the dream, not there anymore. Then I realized that it was more than a dream. The goblin has been living on the swelling of his neck, and Master Wong had actually visited and helped him that night in his dream. This is another incident of Mr. Peter, which I find very interesting. It was a Sunday and I was attending SFX Church with some other students of EQSMP. Suddenly, during the service, I saw Mr. Peter coming from afar. He looked desperate, as if looking for someone. At first, he sat outside the church. Later, he went in to look for a seat. Then he seemed to be restless and went outside again. I knew something was not right with him. I could see from afar that one of his eyes was closed. I then realized that his eyelid was drooping, meaning his eyelid covering way below the eyes or overlapping his eyes. Later I found out that this was already the third time he was trying to look for Master Wong. Mr. Peter went to church, but Master Wong refused to see him, so he went off after that. During his first time, Mr. Peter, having these drooped eyelids, went to see Master Wong at his office. While sitting in front of Master Wong, Mr. Peter's eyelid began to open up and his eye was back to normal again. Those around noticed the change but did not say anything. Master Wong knew that Mr. Peter did not keep his promise of not going back to the temple for magic charms. Thus, Mr. Peter's drooped eyelid was somehow a warning for him. He was earlier healed by Master Wong of his swollen neck. Master Wong asked him if he had gone to the temple again. Mr. Peter answered and said he was only there to collect some medicine. Master Wong knew he was lying, but did not say anything. After that, Mr. Peter went back. About a week later, Mr. Peter came back and the second time to see Master Wong, having the same problem again. Sitting in front of Master Wong, Mr. Peter's eyelid began to open and was back to normal again, like the first time. Mr. Peter again said he only go to the temple to collect medicine. Master Wong warned him not to go to the temple again, and then he went back home. As I have mentioned earlier, when I saw Mr. Peter in church, there was already the third time he was having this problem. Earlier, Mr. Peter came to the office, but Master Wong wasn't there, so Mr. Peter followed us to church, hoping to meet Master Wong. Master Wong refused to see Mr. Peter because he did not heed Master Wong's warning to him the week before, not to go to the temple. I knew that when Mr. Peter went into the church, he was unwell and somehow felt uneasy because of the evil spirits disturbing him. Mr. Peter was made to leave hastily because of the presence of God, which the evil spirits were afraid of. A few days later, Mr. Peter rang up and asked to see Master Wong for help. Miss Pauline, Master Wong's assistant during that time, who took the call, could not understand what Mr. Peter was saying as his voice was coarse. Mr. Peter told her that he was in the hospital having throat cancer. Being compassionate, Master Wong asked Miss Pauline to call Miss Amy, Mr. Peter's girlfriend, to come to the office so that he would instruct her on what to do. Miss Amy came, and while in the office, she told Master Wong that she dreamt about him. She saw him in a golden robe wearing a pendant. The pendant was on Master Wong's chest. When asked if there was any string attached to the pendant, she said none. She then pointed to a picture of Jesus hanging on the wall of the room. What she was trying to say was the pendant on Master Wong's chest is similar to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. Then Master Wong blessed a rosary and gave it to Miss Amy. Master Wong asked Miss Pauline to teach Miss Amy how to pray the rosary. He asked Miss Amy to take leave and pray together with Mr. Peter to ask for God's forgiveness. Master Wong also instructed her to bring a bottle of water on a particular day so that he can bless it for Mr. Peter to drink, and Miss Amy agreed. The next day, when Miss Pauline called Miss Amy's office, she was still working and did not take leave as instructed. The following day, Miss Pauline called her on her handphone, but her friend answered, saying Miss Amy loaned her the handphone. It seems Miss Amy was trying to avoid Miss Pauline, who was trying to reach her. She refused to follow Master Wong's instruction, and thus Mr. Peters was deprived of the healing. There was a time when I was attending a talk in Master Wong's office on End of the World. A student by the name of Mr. Lim Kai Hong shared his experience by calling out Master Wong's name. He was very sick with flu and fever for more than 2 weeks, even after seeing his doctor, who gave him medicine, but it didn't help him. Then he remembered an incident where one of the students who said that by calling out Master Wong's name, he had miraculously recovered from his health problem. That night, he was so weak, tired, and in desperation. He called out Master Wong's name. Almost immediately, the phone rang. The phone kept ringing without stopping, so with his condition, he had to struggle to pull himself up from his bed to reach for the phone. When he picked up the call, there was no answer from the other end. He has to drag himself back to bed. Just before he could sleep back, the phone rang again. He was really irritated, angry, and was ready to tip the caller off. But when he picked up the phone again, there was no answer. However, by then he realized he had recovered. His fever had gone and he felt much stronger. I know that after reading the many cases of miracles by Master Wong, many people will find it difficult to believe. They were just too fantastic to be true, but I have actually witnessed them with my own eyes. Many people and former EQSMP students have also witnessed and or seen the miracles of Master Wong, such as instant healing, raising the dead, fighting the evil spirits in the body of a woman. Master Wong has been investigated by 5 skeptical groups, namely the journalists, television, medical doctors, priests, and VIPs. He was featured in Nona TV3 of Malaysia and also Bloomberg. I believe these are more than enough proof on what Master Wong can do. Listening to the hundreds of testimonies from past students, the EQSMP is really good for both young and old. As for those who are not so healthy, I would strongly advise them to join the EQSMP, which is now called XQQ SHREMP, as it is really effective way for health rejuvenation. Give yourself a chance to stay healthy. Always start when you are young, as it may be too late when sickness comes later. Do come to find out more for yourself. So far, I have not seen or heard of anyone else who can perform the many miracles Master Wong has done. Since joining the EQSMP in 2001, until now, I have never need to see a doctor. I could eat almost anything without worrying about too much fats or cholesterol or being sick, thanks to Master Wong. I think it is better to be nearer to him. Since my attendance of the EQSMP in year 2001, I have no need or ever seen a medical doctor because I believe the doctor of doctors is my boss. And even when I had a stomach ache incident, I was cured by just sitting in front of him. Fantastic, but nevertheless, it was true. Anyway, nowadays I am enjoying very good health as I never had before, and I'm grateful to God that I can meet Master Wong and be near to him, as I know that Master Wong is a miracle worker in more ways than one. If you would like to contact me by email, I can be reached at winston@miraclehealinghands.com for advice and guidance, but bear with me if I take a long time to reply due to work pressure and commitments, but I will try to reply to all as soon as possible.